Thank you very much. All right, guys, Sunday. All of you are the most hardcore. Congratulations. This is the people that actually are investing in themselves. They're not home sleeping. Well, I guess if you have family, right? Maybe that's okay. But thank you guys so much for having me. My name is McLaughlin, and this is my very first time in Kazakhstan. So thank you for having me. It's been unbelievable. The hospitality has been incredible. All the horse meat has been great. The horse milk you can keep. I'm okay without that. I tried it though. But it's been unbelievable. I also want to thank anyone from the State Department here, anyone that's working with them, because this has been an awesome event. I really, really do think that a lot of other governments, countries around the world need to copy this model, because this has been super, super impressive. So thank you guys so much. So my talk, this is one of my favorite talks to give, because we invest in IoT companies, or companies that connect the physical world. And this took me a long time to understand. And it profoundly has changed my perspective on everything. Because I really do believe that connecting the physical world is fundamentally going to change every single aspect of our lives. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, because this is one of the first questions I hope all of you ask, because it's the first thing that I ask. If I'm going to spend my time watching someone on stage, who the hell are they? Why am I listening? So I spent 10 years in Silicon Valley. 6 of those years were at Apple. I also have helped a couple of startups do fairly well. I have one of my first unicorns. I have 52 different investments right now from around the world, all over the place, from like the #1 website in surfing to very deep medical technologies, etc. I also have a very interesting kind of story about moving from Silicon Valley to China. So I was there for almost 10 years, and now I've been in China for almost 5 years. I have a couple of interesting things I've learned and things that I've done to kind of teach myself more. So anyone yesterday come to my China talk? Was anyone there? Awesome. So one thing I didn't tell you was another thing I've been doing is working with Chinese companies as a key opinion leader or an influencer. So I'm an influencer for Huawei. I'm sure you guys know that company. And also Insta360, another Chinese company made by DJI engineers, as a way for me to learn. Because I think it's really important to invest your time in areas that you think are going to be important in the future. So I want to make sure I invest as much energy as I can. So WeChat users, raise your hands. Anyone with WeChat? That means not enough. Okay, cool. So feel free to add me on WeChat. I'm happy to talk later. So more importantly than my background is my business, Brink. And I always like to ask, so before this conference, something I teach my investments, who had ever heard of Brink before this conference? Awesome, we have lots of work to do. Okay, now you've all heard Customer Development 101. So we do a couple of things. We help invest in IoT or hardware businesses at these 4 critical stages. So the first part is where we help connect them to the right education, resources, and community to make sure that they build their businesses right the first time. Who's a software founder? Anyone? Cool, so you have it easy. Someone else deals with deployment and payments and all these other issues that you don't have to deal with. Hardware founders have to do that plus, plus, plus. So a lot of the early decisions they make end up haunting them for their entire life of their business. So we run the largest community for IoT in the world in partnership with F6S. We'll show that later. We also help by doing paid membership programs for people that want to learn how to do offline hardware and a lot more. I think we do different events in 25 cities around the world. Our accelerator has invested in 43 companies. I now think there's 2 or 3 new investments in the audience today. I've met a couple of great hardware and IoT and robotics companies, so I'm super stoked to see your applications. We're now investing in over 40 companies a year. But the next part is, how do you make your products? Because in hardware, that's the biggest downfall. You can get a lot of the other ideas right. Who here has ever manufactured a product before? 0? Oh my gosh, okay. So it's tough, but it's something you can definitely do right the first time if you have the right education, partners, resources. So we do that. We've helped 35 startups ship their products. And the last part is growing your business. So again, software people, I love you, but you don't have a very hard job compared to hardware founders. Because hardware founders don't get to hit a button and have worldwide distribution magically overnight. They have to talk to retailers and distributors and import and exports and traders. They have to finance inventory. It's a lot of extra work. So we help that after they manufacture, we help them grow their business. So one main belief that underpins our entire company is one thing, which we believe that we need to unlock data so we can improve our lives. And this means everything. Because right now, I want to see wrists. Who has a wearable device that's digital on their wrist right now? Raise them. Okay? So let's say that's 1/5. So all of you are getting data that the other 4/5 of you are not. I have 100,000 data points on my heart. So when science catches up and they can do something with that, I start with a personalized data set that can help me understand if something's wrong with my heart, if something's different. And all of you that didn't raise your wrist, you don't have that data. And it goes much further than that. Everything, the lights, the speakers, this microphone, the projectors, the chairs you're sitting on, your shoes, your purse, your cups, everything here has data, but it's stuck. It's just stuck, and we can't get it out. How many times does it rotate? How hot is it right now? When was it manufactured? What's the power going through it right now, and how can that predict when it needs to be maintained? The entire physical world will be connected in the future, and that data is going to fundamentally improve our lives. I'm going to explain to you how. Okay, it is Sunday at lunchtime. Are you ready for some math? Anybody? Okay, yes. I actually don't like math, but fair enough. Let's do this. Okay, this is something that dawned on us after about 2 years. Because as any sort of early stage investor will tell you, you start with one idea and it changes. So our idea of why we invested in IoT and hardware companies has evolved. And I have to be honest, some of our earliest investments were super cool gadgets. Really cool things. But they maybe weren't changing the world. They maybe weren't the most important things in the world. But then this equation came up, and it's now the fundamental filter for everything we do in our company. It's why I personally wake up every day, is because I put all the businesses into this context. So, math time. This is not going to be hard. All of you are probably much smarter than I. So, first one, we have a problem. Let's call that X. So it could be people or resources that are wasted. We're going to multiply that by Y, which is the effect. Could be money lost, lives lost, money spent. Over Z, duration. So some sort of time, up to you. And that equals the impact or the overall opportunity that we can have on the world by fixing this problem. Very, very simple. And now I usually do like level 1 in these talks, but I'm happy to talk to you. It goes like times 2, like it was level 2, level 3 of this. It gets really sophisticated and it's super fun. Okay, let's start with autonomous driving. Who here has ever heard of autonomous driving? Okay, down. I'd like to ask this next. Oh yeah, he's pumped. All right, next one. Who here has actually been in a car that has driven itself? That's interesting. So 3 out of probably the 15 or 20 that raised their hands. That's very interesting. You probably know a lot more about this technology than a lot of other technologies because it's super popular. Tesla, good example. But almost none of you have experienced it. And you probably think what everyone else thinks at first. This is going to be awesome. Commuting sucks. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to eat a burger. I'm going to do some email. I'm going to do all sorts of stuff with all this free time. I'm going to hit a button. My car is going to take me to the office or take me to school. I'm going to get all this time back. Well, sure, of course, that's going to be great. I hate commuting, but it's more important than that. So in China alone, every single day, 700 people die in car accidents. Every day. It's brutal. It's 1.4 million people every single year around the world. I checked in Kazakhstan. You guys are about 63rd in terms of the world rankings. So you're not nearly as bad. I think it's something like 20 or 23 people a day. You're actually quite high. It's really not good. You're obviously quite smaller than China, so maybe even relatively, it's quite high. So you do that per year, that's 255,000 people are dying for something that we can fix. Now, if you don't care about human lives, which I hope you do, let's just talk about economics. So I made up some random number. So what's a human life worth in terms of output? Let's maybe say it's $500,000 of value you can generate in a lifetime. So if you do that math, X, Y, Z, right? Pretty straightforward. $128 billion opportunity in China. How many industries are $128 billion opportunities? It's only 700 a day, or that was 255. It's 6 times larger in terms of the world. Let's do another one. Does anyone know anything about palm oil? Okay, very interesting. Not many people do, so kudos. One of our investments is a company called Poladrone. They're out of Malaysia and Indonesia. So 15% of crop loss in palm oil is due to workforce mismanagement. So that's X. And in Malaysia, it's a $15 billion industry. So let's say that's why. So let's say it's 3 years. It's a $7 billion opportunity. And frankly speaking, $7 billion in terms of GDP for a country, it's no big deal, right? It's just kind of a rounding error. If you really don't care about the money, that's also fine. But the forecasts are that the increase in demand is going to double by 2020 and triple by 2050 because palm oil is a very cheap oil and everyone uses it for cooking. And I can't stop that. Brink cannot stop that. Poladrone cannot stop how macroeconomics work, or microeconomics in this example, where you're going to just use the oil that makes economic sense. The issue is that this leads to mass deforestation and species extinctions, and it's not slowing down, it's increasing. And data and IoT can solve this problem. Now, again, I can't fix the demand, but that little inefficiency of 15% means we can save those trees. We can also save those animals that are going to go to extinct forever if we don't do it. Now, I didn't show you autonomous driving because I have a feeling you know what that looks like. But I'm going to show you a quick video of what it looks like in terms of what we're doing right now. So this is Poladrone. If you don't know what an oil plantation looks like, that's what it looks like. And we know it's the most popular cooking oil. You might not know that 50% of our products have it. Just disgusting. So we're using computer vision, and we're increasing the efficiency of how you manage this crop. Not bad, 99% more effective than humans. So we started like early, mid last year. 2 million trees are in the neural network already. We have over 50% of all the tier 1 plantations in Malaysia and Indonesia. And this is step 2 that we're doing now. So now we're actually optimizing the spraying of the pesticides as well. So our drones are actually 20 times more efficient than the current systems. Now this is just one crop. Just one crop. We have a lot of investments. Our second largest investment by vertical is in what we call what we eat. So agricultural technologies, shrimp farming, palm oil, cattle, water, on, because these things matter. Let's do another one. Diabetes. Anyone know someone who's had diabetes? Cool, that's about right. In America, 60% of Americans have type 1, type 2, or are already pre-diabetic. Now, you might not think, it's going to affect you. If you looked around in Kazakhstan, it's actually statistically the same. And I'm going to show you a statistic you probably didn't know. So one of our investments is out of New York University, NYU, called Bombutan. It's a graphene technology. It's a nanotechnology, which I'll talk about in a second. But let's talk about the problem. 200 people every single day in America have to have their legs or their feet amputated every single day. Because diabetes has all these secondary effects. One is that you lose the sensation in your lower limbs. The problem about this particular side effect is that it's not something that you can take a pill for. And it's not something that you can go to a doctor and maybe they give you some physiotherapy. When this sets in, you are in the operating room then, instantly. There is no coming back from this. So 200 people times 365 days is 73,000 people every year that used to walk every day of their life now cannot because of this. It also costs, if you don't care about the human part, $70,000 per operation. So now that's a $5 billion opportunity fiscally that doesn't have to be wasted. And that doesn't account for the emotional toll, the lower productivity, the depression, because you've been able to walk your whole life and now you can't. Now here's the problem. Kazakhstan is 17 million people, right? Ish. So you guys don't have 200 today. You have 14. 2017 last year. But you guys are what? That's a factor of 5, 15, let's say 18 times smaller than America. It means you're just as bad. You actually have the exact same percentage of this happening in your country that we have in America. But it's a problem you don't hear about. So how do we solve it? And I'm going to give you the stupid part of it, which is, have you guys ever heard of like the bad version of IoT, like connecting stupid things? Like if you connect your shoes, it says, oh, how high can I jump? Or how fast do I run? Or how many steps did I take? Or let's maybe connect my toaster. Or like dumb shit that doesn't need to be connected, right? But what we do is we take a non-obvious problem, like amputations as a side effect or a complication of diabetes, and we take their shoes and we take the insole, just the part that gives you that comfort at the bottom, the cushion, and we layer in a small layer of 1 micron, 1 nanometer of graphene that allows us to have a distributed sensor now. So we can recognize when they're walking or they're standing what's normal and when it starts changing. So we now know something's wrong. Now we can't always tell what's happening, but it's an early warning system that can trigger and tell them and the doctor that you need to pay attention. Because this problem, there is no second chance. Now, I don't want it to be super heavy because the thing that I really got frustrated about living in Silicon Valley for 10 years is that they've really stopped solving the problems that matter. And I'm not kidding you. When I left 4.5 years ago, there were more new companies about how to get your laundry delivered faster, how to get beer delivered to you, how to have someone fill up your gas tank while you sleep. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, live your life, do shit, versus these types of problems. And this is an equation that has helped me wake up. Because I was there long enough where I was starting to get brainwashed too. And I asked this the first day on this same stage, who thinks that Silicon Valley is really cool? You might know my stance. Fuck Silicon Valley. It's not really about Silicon Valley, it's about that mindset. And what's so amazing about where we are today in terms of sensor technologies and the power of data and the ability to make sense of data in a way that we've never been able to before. You have a new ability, all of the founders here, or anyone that's in a corporation or governments, to actually do something that matters here, in Almaty, in Kazakhstan. You don't have to go emulate and move and do all this stuff like everyone else does, and you can have massive, profound effects on people every single day if you use this equation. It's not just hardware. Use it for your life. Use it for when you commute. How much time do you waste? How much money do you waste buying the coffee at the coffee shop every day versus doing it yourself? Whatever it is, it helps you just frame what you're doing and what really matters. Now, let's talk about different people. First, startups. Raise your hand. Okay, down. Who wants to be a startup? Okay, more of you. Cool. Now, here's the real question. Who, that raise your hand on either, wants to or is already using a sensor or hardware in their business? 3. Okay, not as many as there should be. All good. I'm here to tell you it's not as hard as you think it is. You can use, I think there's actually a makerspace here, no? Okay, I haven't seen it yet. Gotta check it out. But there, you can use Arduino. You can use Raspberry Pi. Even me, I'm not an engineer by training. I've been able to learn the basics. There's never been a time like today where you, as a non-technical person, or if you are technical, can get data in a way you've never been able to before. Now, let me ask another question to frame this. Who here works in artificial intelligence or machine learning? Okay, down. What about big data? Anyone on that side? Cool. Now, here's my favorite question. Where do you think that data comes from? Hardware. There is zero data on the planet Earth that didn't start with hardware. None. Zero. So all of you that have businesses, you got to call me. Unless you do it yourself. So as a startup, you have an opportunity and a possible advantage that has never existed on Earth. Back to the software people. All the apps, all the services that you launch, you now compete with every other software app in the world the first day you launch. And what do you have different? Not fucking data, because you don't have hardware. You're using other people's data sets, or you have to generate new data from other people's hardware, like the iPhone or whatever other devices you're getting it from. There's a window in time as a startup that you can create unique data, unlock the world's data in a way that you've never had the opportunity before. And that gives you a differentiation and a competitive edge against all the other software companies that are waiting for the exact same customer data that you're trying to get, because you don't have any unique data. Now, think about this. What's changed in the big world? Who's the most valuable company in the world? Apple. What's the second most valuable company in the world? Amazon. What are some of the big companies you heard about out here? Huawei. What about the big companies that used to be software that now get into hardware? Facebook, Google. Interesting. They've realized something else. You need to start extracting your own data. You need to have your own hardware. Now, if you're a startup, you need to start looking into this. Please do not tweet at me 5 years from now and say that, oh, but I heard hardware was hard. Oh, I didn't really want to learn. You have a makerspace right here. You have 5 or 6 people that are already doing it. All sorts of open source education online. Think about this. How many different parts of Almaty, if you put a sensor at a light or an intersection or at the gas station or the grocery store, could you get data that never has existed ever before? You'd be the only one to have it. What could you do with it? You can create businesses in a way you've never been able to before as a startup now. What about corporations? Who works for a corporation? Okay, don't be scared. There's only 4. Statistically, that's not true. So there's only 4 of you. Okay, so corporations, you have a different problem. You're very big, you're super slow, and that's both your advantage and your disadvantage. As a corporation, I'll ask another question. Who believes that artificial intelligence is going to be ubiquitous, is going to be everywhere around in the future? Perfect. So follow my logic for a second. So if artificial intelligence is going to be everywhere, artificial intelligence does something really well. It crunches massive amounts of data. It can find insights that us as humans cannot very well. It can do things that we can't. Now, I believe in a future where it will guide us and that we will still be valuable. But if you're a corporation and you, even just a little bit, are not recognizing what this means for your competitive landscape, and now startups, you're on the other side, you can help them. As a corporation, you're in deep shit. If I'm a competitor of yours, let's say I'm in the building industry, and I start putting sensors in my business, and I start learning about my company, but you as my main competitor didn't do it. I have a lot of data you don't have. The second that artificial intelligence or advanced machine learning starts making sense of that, I have insights of how I can more efficiently run my business that you don't have. What do you think that does? It means I'm going to eat you alive 1% at a time. I'm going to slowly start changing the dynamics of our competition. I'm going to start finding cost efficiencies and dropping my prices and taking you out as a company because I decided to unlock the data in my business and then work with technology and where advanced machine learning or AI is going. Because if I can do that, even if you want to start trying to lower your prices to compete with me, you can't. Because you didn't find the efficiency, I did. If you're a corporation, please take my word for this, and you are not partnering or doing something to unlock and put sensors into your business right now, one of your competitors will do it. You might not even know who they are. They might not even be in this country. They are going to eat you alive as advanced machine learning and AI matures over time. Government people. Anyone from the government? Oh, we got one. Anyone else? Okay, two? Nice. So this is one of my favorite things because every single government likes to copy Silicon Valley. You already know my opinion. All of you probably have a lot of support when it comes to software and services and the gig economy and ride sharing and blah, 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 blah. You need to, as a government, invest in your makers. You need to invest in the engineering and the education required to teach this generation. You do not want to miss this as a country. We're now opening in Poland because the government is investing 3 or 5 to 1 matching for when we come in to invest money because they realize they were about to lose this. Do not lose this. In the future, if you cannot make things in your country and your next generation doesn't know how to create new value and unlock data, you are going to let people like us come in. Other startups are going to come and do it for you in your country. Please, please, please invest, not just in software, but also the physical makers. Okay, investors. I know we got a couple in the front. Anyone else? Any other investors? One? No? Really? Two? Okay. Let me just talk shit at investors for 5 seconds. So, Apple, we already talked about this. Most valuable business in the world, almost close to being the first $1 trillion business ever. The most of their money, I mean, I'm kind of biased because I worked there for 6 years, right? But like, it's just basic economics here. This product, one product, the iPhone, has essentially propped up the value of the world's largest business, the most valuable company on earth. Essentially, all the money comes from the iPhone. We have one phone per person, one. Now, Gartner and everyone else says we're going to have how many IoT devices per person? Some people say 7. Some people say 15. I think it's going to be 1,000. And you might not own all of them. You might come into like contact in your car, your office, the restaurant, the bathroom, your home, whatever, the airport. But you will come into contact with thousands of sensors per human. And as an investor, I always like to ask one simple question. If one device per person has made the most valuable business on earth, and you are currently not investing in IoT and hardware companies, walk me through a future scenario where you raise money again saying, I missed the next Apple. Because it was hard. Because I didn't want to spend the time. It was expensive. Hardware companies cost money. You cannot afford to avoid how big IoT is going to be of a business opportunity. You need to be investing now. So last point. If you just came in, I know I brought up a lot of topics. One thing that I do consistently, because people have done it for me, I know this is down here, you might not see it, the hashtag AskBetaBay. I 100% of the time answer every single question that you ask me if you use that hashtag. I do it every single day, Monday to Friday, on every single one of my social channels. So if you have a question later, or it comes up later, you don't think about it today, set it up. I will send you a personalized video response because people have given me their experiences my whole career. I've had lots of great mentors and help, and I want to make sure you have access to whatever I've learned or my network. So 2 call to actions. If anyone here knows or already are an IoT, hardware, drone, robotics company, please go to apply. We currently have applications aligned right now. We invest $70,000 to $100,000 US per team. We'll be investing in almost 23 companies this next batch. So there's lots of opportunity and lots of money. Please apply or tell someone you know to apply. The last one below is community. That's completely free. There's 7,000 hardware companies in our community right now, completely free. You can ask questions, get advice, post your own resources. So if you're interested in IoT or hardware, we'd love to have you join the community. It's a global community in partnership with F6S. Thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, I'll hang out. Peace.